do the intro, and then we'll take it as we've always been doing.
Sure, no problem, no problem. So, I'd like to welcome all of our listeners and viewers to another episode of the Value UX podcast for the upcoming Value UX conference, which is really exciting. We're interviewing a few of our selected guests that will be speaking at the conference, and today we're delighted to have Ben Callahan here with us. Someone that I've not personally met, but Naresh gave a stunning review of Ben leading up to the conference. So it goes without question that we would invite you onto the podcast today. So yeah, happy to have you here, Ben.
Thank you so much.
It wouldn't be a conference without him. I
Oh,
definitely,
come on.
when me and Dale were thinking about speakers, we put you there, definitely on the top. And I think, your experience and your knowledge in this field just outweighs everything that we're trying to bring into Value UX. And I think you bring a lot of value into that. And I think this is what, no pun intended.
I saw that. I saw what you did.
But I guess, Ben, let me take it from the top. I guess with Value UX, there's a lot of people that are going to be coming in that, they're very in their skill level, all the way from juniors. And we're seeing people from director levels who have been kind of applying. And would you say your talk would resonate in a certain gap, or does it kind of cater to all?
That's a interesting question. It's something I feel like anybody who speaks at events is always wrestling with this, because it's very rare that you have an event or an audience of participants that are all sort of on the exact same level. I try to make sure that the content I present is more about ways of thinking than it is about sort of like technical ability in tools, So with that in mind, I do think this is something that would apply broadly, even actually to folks who aren't even in the digital space. So I think there's some core lessons about just like how to think about moving through the world, how to think about moving through the world in the digital space, how to think about the value of design systems and how they can make an impact in the work we're doing. So I think it's a pretty broad topic. It is a bit philosophical, so it'll make you kind of question things a bit, I hope. So
it's nice. Obviously, it's the first time meeting you, Ben, for me personally. So it's a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
Thank you. Before recording, I was looking at your background, and you have a very varied background, very multidisciplinary. So it just came to my mind, based on all the experiences you've had and the expertise you've got as well, what would you like to leave with the attendees of your talk? And what have you taken as well from your career that you would like to leave with those who do attend? So it's kind of like a two-pronged question based on your talk, but also your experiences.
Yeah, the talk is, I guess we can start there. The talk is kind of like I would say it's sort of an introduction to systems thinking for folks in the digital space, and I run basically it's like a sort of like a mini research show. I don't quite know what to call it. Actually, it's not like a podcast.
It's a get together. It's really a get together and brainstorming. I love it. I love that.
I love that because that's the feeling I want. I want everybody to feel like they can be a part of it. The format is it's very simple. On Mondays, I work with, every week I find a different co-host, somebody in the space who's got interesting views or interesting experience. And we kind of formulate a question, and we send that out on Mondays to a bunch of folks who are design system practitioners. And then they have 48 hours to answer the question. And then we close the question, we analyze the data, and Thursday or Friday, we facilitate a deep dive into what we learned. And so it's like a mini research project that happens all in 1 week. And so what I've learned about this, I've done this 55 times now. So I have 55 hours of these deep conversations looking at very like niche areas of design systems with brilliant people, and I don't mean brilliant people. When I say that, I don't mean these are folks necessarily who have worked on systems for a decade or anything like that. Like a bunch of these folks have, they work on the biggest systems in the world, but a bunch of them are just really curious people. And what I love about that is that we are just all there to learn. So the vibe of it is like what you just said, like it's just a hangout, and we just happen to be getting into FigJam together. We collaboratively take notes. I share the raw data that we gather with everybody. I mean, it's just a lot of fun, and we're all getting smarter. So that's sort of like the genesis for this talk, which is called Wisdom from the Trees. I call it that because I think I had an opportunity to go visit the coastal redwoods in California, and I learned about these trees in a really interesting way. I've told this story like 1,000 times, so if you've heard it, forgive me. But basically, these trees can't stand up on their own. Their roots are very shallow, even though they're the tallest trees in the world. And so they are connected under the surface, and they essentially hold each other up. And that's sort of what I wanted this community to be. We're not supporting design system practitioners inside of the organizations where they work in the ways that they need to be supported. So the community needs to do that work. So that's kind of the intent. The presentation is just, I pull sort of lessons from interesting episodes of the question and sort of weave them into a narrative that I think is kind of fun. So I don't know if I answered your question or not. I just started rambling.
You did. You really did. And to everyone, we will drop the links to the question in the comments below. We would love for you to go there. I've been on there a few times, quite a few times,
quite a
actually.
few, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. The community spirit is there. Everyone has a chance to speak and talk and even to vent as well. And it feels. It's really, as you mentioned, we're there to learn. And I have taken so much from the question and applied it to my day-to-day work. With even speaking to people on the podcast, I'm like, hey, I learned this, like Davey Fung. I learned Davey Fung's.
Yeah.
That was such a brilliant show. And he gave me so much information on that micro adoption, which I've kind of adapted for operations. It's like, how do you adapt certain levels of, changes? And so, the question is absolutely brilliant. Again, we will drop the links to the show below. Ben, I want to take a stab at another question. A lot of people who do go to conferences, and this is the reason why me and Dale kind of started up ValueUX, they've mentioned a lot to us, and the people that have reached out to us say that when they go to talks, they're very kind of surface level. That again, I know you mentioned that they could take away some stuff, but are we expecting from your talk that people can, like, literally on Monday morning, bring in some of the learnings that you're talking about and apply it directly into their day-to-day work?
Yeah, in maybe ways that they wouldn't expect, I think, yes. This is not a talk about how to make stuff in Figma or how to code something in React. I mean, it's not a tactical presentation. It is much more my attempt to challenge the way you think about systems. And so, I've done, like, for the last decade or so, I've been digging into really interesting areas in systems. I've offered things like frameworks for like what a system actually is, called the anatomy of a design system. I have a design system maturity model that has lots of different components to it that help organizations analyze where they are. So all of that content I think is really relevant, but none of it matters if you don't think differently about why we need systems. And so that's what I think I realized that after sort of like diving into all these models and these ways of thinking, I realized, like, gosh, I need, for these things to take root, we have to be able to sort of like shift our thinking, our mental model of why we're doing this. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to get at here. And yeah, so I think it's applicable in a lot of ways, honestly.
That's awesome. I want to kind of go along a similar line, I would say, but more on, because we're going to have people attending that are from all different backgrounds, but also are in different industries as well. And obviously there might be certain people that they're familiar with in terms of who will be giving a talk or a workshop or something. So they might be more drawn to attend those talks because it's in their industry. It's something that they're aware of. do you have a specific target audience? We mentioned it before around seniority level, but is there a specific type of designer, researcher, engineer that you're targeting this talk at? Or is it something that anyone can attend and still apply various facets of your talk to their own specific niche or field?
This is the wonderful thing about systems, which is that everywhere you look, they are. And in fact, we just did an episode of The Question last week where we talked about the challenge that presents, because when you work the muscle of systems thinking in your daily job, when you step away from that job, all you see is systems, right? Deciding to go out to eat, what restaurant we're going to go to, becomes this whole mesh of interrelated decisions, And so like there's work to do to sort of undo that, like to be able to see the world without all of the implications of your decisions too. But the value here is like, you can apply this stuff anywhere, absolutely every field, every industry, every role. So I think it's wildly valuable stuff. I wish I had discovered this way of thinking way earlier in my career. I think it would have dramatically shaped my journey. But we are where we are, right? So
he's teasing. We want to delve in more, but we don't want to give away anything like on your talk. Ben, I want to ask one final question from myself. There is a lot of pressure right now in the design field, and especially in our industry, to show return of investment or impact from what we do on the day-to-day. I think you can hear it left, right, and center from everywhere. And would you say that when people go to your talk, there is something that they can really show as a metric of impact or changes to show their value from what your talk is going to teach them?
I don't go into like the specifics of how to track metrics in your system. We've done episodes of the question on that topic, and my thinking in that space has remained fairly constant, which is that it's a collaborative effort to measure those things. You can't, and unfortunately, a lot of organizations say, okay, we need to be more efficient, so we're going to make a design system team. It's your job to make the whole org more efficient. And it's like, just saying that out loud, you're like, well, that's ridiculous. No one team can do that, right?
Yeah.
So there's a connection to all the other consuming teams that has to be made, a relationship that has to be built. And they need to be measuring their own efficiencies. We can measure their use of the things we offer, their adoption of the system. And together we can make that correlation, right? As their use of the system increases, their efficiency should also increase if we're meeting our goals, right? So I think that's my thinking in that space. This presentation doesn't dive into metrics, but I'm happy to share some links to things that cover some of that in depth if you think your audience really wants that info.
I think it's a very hard one. It's as you mentioned, our guests are really, and I think that's the whole point of the slogan. It's the value that they get in, and I think the teachings you get is the value. Why I even asked that question is that I'm trying to answer a lot of what is happening in the industry. I think that's what me and Dale are really looking at with the conference, that people can really take stuff and go against the curve, or no, not go against the curve, but have some ammunition to fight back against, being called a cost center.
Yeah.
I hear it all the time. I hear it that design is just a cost center. Design is just a tool. Design systems cost so much. There's so much rework. And I hear it. Me and you had a podcast and talked about this. And I've spoken to so many people. We are just looked at as a cost center rather than bringing value to an organization. And I think, it's a very hard one, but we're hoping a lot of people can take some stuff and really apply it. So
I'm going to talk about the criticality of language, because everybody thinks about design system efficiency, or how a design system would offer efficiency, by thinking about the reuse of assets, right? Like, I made you a button, so now you don't have to make the button and you can just use the button. So we've just, shaved off a little bit of time. How much time does it take to make a button, But the real inefficiency in most organizations, regardless of the industry, is that we all sit down in a meeting and we have a conversation for an hour about a thing we need to go do. And then we leave and we thought that we all understood each other, but we didn't. And so we go do different things. And then we come back together in a week and we realize, oh crap, we misunderstood each other. So now we're back at ground zero. Now we're frustrated because we didn't communicate well. We're blaming each other because somebody else used the wrong words or whatever. Yeah. We wasted a week of time already and we're back at the beginning. So that's essentially 2 weeks lost, right? So it's the most awful form of inefficiency because it's a slow degradation of your culture.
Yes.
And so if we can focus on language, and this is what design systems offer us, it can become the language we speak to solve product problems. And if it does that, then all of a sudden that meeting is shorter. We know exactly how to go and work because we had the words to talk about the problems effectively. And we also have the assets that help us be faster in the implementation, right? So I think the value in systems is tremendous. And this is part of that mind shift I'm talking about is we need to stop focusing so much on the assets in systems. That is just a sliver of the efficiency. So that's one area that I think I'll hit on that. Like, how do we actually get real value out of a system? That is probably an area where I'll cover some of that.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. Like, obviously I'm a research guy and like I know of design systems. I've worked with ones who set them up, etc. So obviously you focus more on the technical, like as you said, the assets and things like that. But the thing you've just mentioned now around communication and how all of that feeds into the atmosphere and the environment that you work in as well, and the efficiency that you work with in an organization. And at the end of the day, in the C-suite, or if it's a startup, the managers, the founders, at the end of the day, the goals that you're meeting in terms of objectives and the return on investment, all those sorts of things. That's at the end of the day is what matters, but what feeds into that is obviously how you work as a team and how you work interchangeably amongst teams. So that's something that you've touched on that I'm really looking forward to listening to. Now, if you do touch on it in more detail around communication, like maybe wrap up because I know we're coming to the end of the recording. Do you have like a line or just a sentence that you would like to leave our viewers, our listeners, just to kind of give them that final enticement to come and attend your talk? Not to put you on the spot, but
oh no, I think I've been to a lot of events, both in the audience as an attendee and on the stage as a presenter, and I think part of what attracted me to participate in this is that I'm a little bit tired of the formats, that we use. And I think people, when I go to an event, the stuff that I value the most is the relationships I get to build, So I'm really excited about the opportunity, not just to share some of the things that I've learned, because I've learned a ton from the question community and the design system community. But I just want to get to know some of the folks who are there, like I want to learn from them in this context too. So I think if you're somebody who craves that kind of connection and learning, then please come to my talk and let's hang out afterwards.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I just wanted to ask, so are you going to be floating around? Because I think this is the first time we're going to do this. So Dale, let's just do this right now. So you're seeing now the first bit of time we're putting together. Dale, what's this place again? This is the
Insight Marketplace. So this is the booths of our partners that will be sponsoring or partnering with.
Yeah. So we're again, anyone watching this before we start releasing information, Ben's the first. Ben's the first person who's seeing this right now. So it's other than me and you.
Amazing.
No one else has seen this. So basically, this is the Insight Marketplace. Dale, do you want to give some details about this? Because I was going to ask Ben, is he going to be floating around the conference?
Totally going to be floating.
Absolutely. No, so this is one of the rooms. Obviously, the conference itself will be laid out. You'll have various rooms that you can enter and exit, and you'll have like a main, let's say, entrance hallway. I don't know how you would refer to it, but this is one of the rooms that you can go to. Each, obviously in this case, you have all of the partners who will have their space, their own booths, so they can go through what they offer, what they do, etc. You have these private spaces where you can sit and you can have private conversations, so people outside of those private spaces can't see what you're talking about. But if there are other people there as avatars, you can have face-to-face conversations with you'll be able to see them, they'll have their cams on. There are videos that you can view and watch together. There are games that you can play in other various rooms. So yeah, it's a fully immersive, interactive world, almost like a real world, but obviously it's virtual. So
yeah. I mean, Dale hit the nail on the head with that one. What we'll ask, we don't make it mandatory, but we would like everyone to turn your cameras on, because when you do walk into front of people, your camera turns on and you can start talking with each other. So we do. Again, it's not mandatory, but to get the full experience, we would love for you to turn your camera on, because you could just walk up to someone and it's literally us having a conversation right now.
Love it.
And when you jump into a space like this, so say for instance, there are people here sitting around, and you all come in, it's like being in a Teams meeting. So all your screens will be there. You will get to speak to each other. And we do expect some form of behavior and, some way of communicating with people. We do want you to have some decency and stuff like that. And, it's the same thing like in the question. We keep it very, very, polite, and we expect that from our guests as well. So,
absolutely. Ben,
are you going to be floating around here then?
Heck yes, man. I'll be everywhere. Camera on, coffee in hand. Yes.
Nice. Yeah. As mentioned, this is mainly for our sponsors. We're not trying to. I think what me and Dale are, what ValueUX is meant to be. It's not a cash cow, or it's not meant to be a thing where we're trying to make money out of it. We're giving all donations to the speakers. Any donation that's going to speakers goes directly to the speakers. We don't take any costs. We don't take anything from that. So any donations that you do give to a speaker goes directly to them. And our business model is built around, we make money from the sponsors, and that's how we will keep this conference rolling and going. So great to give Ben the first insights of
I feel special.
Yeah. Ben, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Always,
we're looking forward to your talk. Noel's going to be there, so it'll be two of the greatest people I know within design systems. And yeah, we're really excited about you coming to ValueUX. So
thank you so much for inviting me. It's such an honor, and I'm so excited to be a part of this. So
awesome. It's also a pleasure for me as well to meet you as well, Ben, and have this conversation.
Likewise.
And get to know you better, obviously, before we do see you at the conference. So yeah, it's been a pleasure.